Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of SEO Tells. My name's Itamar. I'm joined with Craig Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most juiciest topics in SEO, which is link building. And before we get started, guys, I want you to comment down below. Do you get links for free or do you pay for your links? I'm just quite interested. Or do you do both? Let's just kind of see what people in the comments are saying, because this topic is very interesting because it is very controversial, which is what we kind of like to see sometimes. So I suppose this is something that, Craig, you've done a lot of over the years, a lot of link building. It's something that I've kind of delved with and trying different types of ways to build links. But yeah, let's kind of jump into it. And so the first thing that I wanted to ask you, Craig, is what have you seen over the years that have changed in terms of the way that people build links and also like the practices that people are using?
So obviously SEO, when I started years ago, wasn't really SEO as such, and then there was very little competition. And back in the day, so link building's always been a strong part of SEO, but how links are built and what Google are looking for in terms of links obviously has evolved over that time. So things like directory listings or any old link would do. It was basically a numbers game at the start where people would have pages on their website saying, let's do a reciprocal link exchange, blah, 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 and they had pages full of links and all of that kind of stuff. And it was very simple and easy, really, to, there was tools like Scrapebox, which you would set up and it would just do blog comments and, social bookmarking, anything, spam worked a treat, and it was just so good. But obviously there comes a point where Google has to decide how they're going to, suggest websites to people for any given search term. And obviously if that was to continue, the kind of spam and everything else, then if that was to continue, Google are not going to be able to establish a good site from a bad site. So they had to then start, that's why now, obviously it's evolved over the years and it's get, not stricter and stricter as such, but, has to be, links have to now be relevant. They're now looking for links that come, well, I believe that links with traffic are more beneficial than links with no traffic. So Google are looking at other signals, and obviously one of them is topical relevance. Other things like, does the website get traffic? And also the positions of the links as well, because it used to be very common where people, and web designers in particular, used to always have at the footer link at the bottom, web design by such and such, and it would just be a greasy, keywords that would be in like web design London or something like that. And then after that, people started selling sidebar links. So it's my belief that sidebar links and footer links have massively been devalued over the years. And even to this day, they don't pass the same power as they once did. And I think that's where getting a good contextual link in the main body of an article is what's going to pass power. And obviously we now look at metrics such as DR, DA, dependent trust flow, citation flow, whatever tools you're using, and it's evolved. And obviously I think the quality of work has had to rise as a result, and that makes perfect sense. So why would it be a free for all? I think you have to work hard. So I think that people always say SEO's changed a lot, and I don't really think it ever has as such. It's evolved, but the core concepts are still the same. And it's just how you go about getting links. But still to this day, people are saying directory links not work anymore, and crazy things like that. People are reading books from 5-10 years ago and trying to implement practices that worked back then, which no longer work now. And I think that's where this whole, people really don't understand what they're doing. You've got to understand how the game's played, and the best place to get links now, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting to kind of understand, I suppose, from your perspective, how things have evolved. And I think it's quite important then to use the word evolve as opposed to change, because people will, like, Google's still gonna know about a website and how good a website is based on the amount of links that it has from certain different sources. Whereas back then it could have been from any bloody source on the internet, right? But then it's evolved just to be smarter, because what does Google really want to do at the end of the day? It wants to know which when queries are put in, which websites are the best ones to answer that query. So in that sense, and they're always evolving, right? The algorithm changes all the time, with like major updates happening maybe like several times a year. But on that basis alone, it's really important that people don't get kind of lost in the time machine, per se, kind of looking at things that have been working, like you mentioned, maybe 5 to 7, 8 years ago, which don't really work now. And so that's quite important to kind of understand. And that moves on to the next point, because this is something that people always kind of ask, is like, should I earn links or should I pay for links? So what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I think, if I'm going to give an honest answer, you're going to have to do both, whether you like it or not. It's relatively simple and straightforward. Earning links, of course, would be your first port of call. If you've got some great content, great videos, whatever you push out there in terms of content, people will link to it, and you're going to earn links that way. You can also earn links, in a number of different other ways, just depending on how you pitch it to the right people or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, and let's be honest about it, there's no point in beating around the bush. People charge money for links on websites. The world has changed. It's no longer a case of swapping a bit of good content with someone. People know the value of link building, and that's where there's always a fee involved. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go with that money to something like Fiverr and have $100 and buy 10,000 links or something like that. Do not buy links of that value. But if you're going to approach a webmaster or a website owner or whatever it's going to be, they know to charge you, $50 or whatever it's going to be to place an article on their website. They just know. Don't ask me why. They just know, and that's the thing. Anyone who does outreach, even the white hat link builders, will tell you that most people will ask for something in return. Now, in some cases, they may say, right, I'll let you place your article on my website with some links. However, you've got that nice headset there, Itamar, so why don't you post me that and I'll do it. You can exchange other things. It doesn't have to be cash. It could be, you might have a whole bunch of other websites which you can use to trade off for links. But regardless, you're still paying. And most people don't have anything to trade off. So you simply have to motivate the person who is Itamar in this hypothetical example. Why would he link to me for no reason? Why is he going to spend 10 minutes of his time copying and pasting my article and putting the links in? He's not, he wants something for it. And whether that's $50 or $100, it really is up to him and the metrics of his website and how desperate I am. So I don't think there's anyone out there, hand on heart, that can say that they don't buy links in some guise or another. Now, whether you're an agency and you white label your SEO and the SEO's told you that everything is super white hat outreach, an element of your budget's paid on placements. I'm sorry, man, but that's the truth. So you are buying links whether you claim to be or not. And I think, that's just the way the game's going. And I think it's because people are becoming wiser. They know there's value there. So they're just not going to give you it for free. And that's why that money has to change hands. And, as far as I'm concerned, why beat around the bush? Just offer the money from the get-go. Just say, listen, I'm interested in a guest post. How much does it cost? Simple and straightforward. I don't want to email back and forth, negotiating. Just how much is it? Just tell me. And as I say, you'll have people will comment below and probably say, nah, I do white hat stuff and all that. Fair play to you, but you clearly don't rank. Unless you're buying, you ain't ranking. Not for anything competitive anyway. There will be people who say you don't need links to rank at all. They'll rank a whole bunch of long tail stuff. But in the real world, in real competitive markets, you have to play the game, and that game is buying links, sadly.
I I suppose the other part of that as well is people who say that they will not pay for links, but then they pay for tools which indirectly help them find prospects so that
Yeah.
they can get links. So are they not really indirectly paying for links anyway by paying for tools?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
I mean, why are we all paying for Ahrefs and SEMrush and all that stuff to do backlink analysis? Why are we doing that if we're not I mean, building one link is against Google's terms of service. Whether you pay for it or not, building one link is against their terms of service. But Google have released on numerous occasions that link building is a really important ranking factor. So that's contradictory in itself. And white hat people are using every tool under the sun to analyze everything, and then they'll go out and buy tools to like Pitchbox or Ninja Outreach or Mailshake or whatever they use for their outbound or their outreach campaign, and they'll claim that they're doing everything white hat. So yeah, it's just these terms that people throw about. Obviously, I think a lot of it comes down to what you can tell a customer. You need to pretend to the customer that you're doing a bit more than you are, rather than just going up to a guy and saying they're $50 for a link. And rather than say to the customer, out of your £1,500 budget, I'm going to keep $750 for my time, and I'm going to spend $750 buying some shit. That's what's happening anyway. But yeah, to justify the full £1,500, they've got to make sure it sounds like outreach and tools and processes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I suppose for people who strictly will say, and people who are quite adamant by saying that they're not going to pay for links, like there are ways to get links naturally, right? But your content just has to be good enough. And if it isn't, people won't link to it. Like that's just plain and simple. Like there's no point trying to kind of give different scenarios. Generally speaking, good content is rewarded by people who, so say for example, if you do want to earn links naturally, you need to create content that no one's really written about. You need to have angles that nobody's gone into. You need to do your own research and do it thoroughly, and do it properly, and actually get some really interesting piece of data, and then kind of make sense of it, and then put that on your blog or whatever and share it about. If people genuinely like it, they will link to it. Because especially with I see this with a lot of agencies as well, who like to post a lot of statistics about things that's going on. If you can be that person to do that piece of research, get that data, kind of say to them, hey, we did this piece of research, it'll be, feel free to use it to back up their points. Because that's what a lot of posts by some people do, is like they'll have an angle on a particular topic, and then they'll try and back it up with research that other people have done. And that's always a great way to kind of get links without really having to do too much. So, don't be, I guess the takeaway is like, don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money. But if you don't want to put in the effort to make that amazing piece of content that people want to link to, then generally speaking, you will just need to pay, because there has to be some kind of reciprocal action. It's like a transaction, right? Link building, for somebody to put a link on the site, it is usually a transaction. If you don't pay for it, it means that the side of the transaction from the other person, so not the person who's putting the link on, but the other person, is that you've offered them great value in terms of great content and great ideas and great insights. So there's always some kind of transaction going on when it comes to links. So whether you pay for it or don't, like, you need to understand there is something that you need to give away for somebody to give you a link, which is, I think, what you were basically saying before, Craig.
Listen,
yeah,
you could argue all day about this. Now, see, if you want the oil in your car changed, you have to pay a guy, and he's charging you a hell of a lot more than he paid for the oil to put the oil in your car, and that's all there is to it. It's just a done-for-you service. I've no idea why people have a big hang-up on paying someone to get some links. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go out and you buy a loaf of bread, you pay for your oil to be changed, and even what you're saying there, Itamar, in terms of, creating good content and someone will pick it up. Now, if you're not good about that, there is an alternative. Pay a PR company and they'll do it, but you're paying them. They will, it's a paid service all along, so you're paying for links. either way, you're paying for everything in life. Everything has a figure attached to it. And whether you're going for a haircut, the guy's scissors probably cost him $200 and he's cut 500 people's haircuts. So why is he charging you 10 quid for a haircut? It's business. It's just the way business goes, and you have to do what works. And as I say, I have no idea why there's a big hang up on buying and earning. I mean, of course, as I say, if you get the opportunity to earn as many free links as you can using whatever the hell you can, fill your boots with it. But there's only a limit to what you'll be able to exhaust from that, and then in comes the paid stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is business, right? Business is business. It always has been, it always will. But let's move on to the next topic, which is about, so let's say you are going to get a link one way or another. Which pages, generally speaking, would you advise for people to build links to? And how should they amplify the value of the links that they're getting?
So, I think, gone are the days where people just link, or people shouldn't be just linking to their homepage. You're going to have services pages, guides, everything else on your website that you want to rank well. And, of course, when you get a link, if you get an amazing link on some education website, for example, whether I talk my way into that or buy it or whatever, I've got an opportunity on a education newspaper, for example. The best place for me to put that would be something educational on my website, which would be something like SEO training or, one of the other courses specifically. So again, pointing your links to internal pages and powering up your website is certainly a process that I do. But in terms of how to amplify that link value, again, you could buy or get or acquire a link on something that has a DR of 30. Now, I'm going to use DR because it's just what most link builders will use as a metric to see how powerful a link is. Now, that DR 30, I may have paid for a guest post. Let's just say I paid £100 and I've got a guest post on this website. It's a DR 30 and I'm sitting going, what can I do to amplify the value of that link? You can build PBNs to it. You can spam the crap out of that particular guest post to make sure that it goes from a DR30 to a DR40 or a DR45 or whatever. So you can amplify the power of that link very easily by using tactics like that. And you're not going to risk your website. What you're doing is obviously potentially risking the guest post site. And that's a strategy when you hear people talking about tiered link building. That's a strategy that many people use, and it doesn't have to be PBNs or whatever. It could be Web 2.0s. It could be anything. There's loads of tools out there, automated tools, that if someone buys a guest post, they will amplify the power of that guest post by every month blasting 100 automated Web 2.0s at it. Or they may, use some PBNs or an expired domain name or, any of these kind of tactics that are out there. And that tactic is entirely down to you. You've just got to try and test and see which works best for you. But again, that's what people are doing to amplify the power of links as well. Again, some people say, sounds a bit dodgy to me, but again, you've got to do what works. And these are not terms that I'm just rattling off here and making up. Everyone knows that there's tiered link building out there. Everyone knows people are doing 301 redirects. Everyone knows people are buying expired domain names, but they never want to admit it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's quite interesting. I suppose doing what works at the end of the day is what's going to help, thread the needle. Like, you've got to do things that are working, that have proven to work. And whether it's proven from your own experience or, well, generally speaking, you should just try it out, right? Like, if you try it out and see it works, then there's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like people should be discouraged by talking about, oh, well, I don't think this is the right thing to do or this and that. But if it works for you, just do it. There's no need to kind of harm yourself by trying to do something that maybe sounds right but isn't as effective, if you know what I mean.
I think everything in moderation, do you know what I mean? It's got to be good. Like, drinking vodka is bad for you, right? If you're going to sit and drink 3 or 4 bottles a day, you're going to have no liver left. But having a couple of vodkas with your dinner at the weekend is certainly not going to have the same negative impact on your liver. So everything in moderation.
Mm-hmm. The wise words, I suppose, for life, right? I mean, not just link building. But let's move on to the next point about relationship building. So I'm interested to hear from you, Craig, about, have there been times where you've built up really strong relationships with people and that has actually led you to getting quite a lot of links, quite a lot of good links quite effectively?
Of course, listen, building up relationships with other digital marketing people who've got access to tons of websites, it's the way forward. And I'm not going to sit there and say that I've never went to any of my friends or none of my friends have came to me that I built relationships with and sat and had beers with and helped, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to say that I've never had links from those guys. I've had a lot of links from those guys, and obviously, you got to when you're doing links, use your relationships, use your contacts, first and foremost. It's the first thing I'll do. Who's got, I'll put it out in WhatsApp or whatever. Who's got access to this, or this type of link? And someone will say, oh, Itamar's got a whole bunch of, legal websites or whatever niche you may choose to work in the future. You might have a whole bunch of legal stuff. So it would be you that's getting chapped up saying, Itamar, I know you work in this legal niche. I'm looking for 10 links. Can we sort something out? And either you will have done a whole bunch of outreach and you've got a whole bunch of guest posts that you could maybe point me in the direction of, or you might just have a whole bunch of assets there that you might say, Craig, buy me a couple of beers and I'll slap some links on for you. Job done. And we all do it. The thing with the SEO community in general is it's quite a close. People are all quite friendly and stuff like that, and help each other out, and go for beers and jolly ups and all that stuff. So it's one of those things that just happens, and but you have to be in that circle to be able to take advantage of it. You can't. And that's the great thing. By going to events or going in Zoom calls, you're building relationships with, all sorts of people in all parts of the world, and being able to tap into their assets from a link building perspective is second to none. Because, even, if you had to go to someone like Alida Solis, who's based in Spain, she'd be able to tell you who's the best Spanish link builder, where to go to for this, that, and the next thing, rather than you spending tens of thousands of pounds being robbed and passed about, through every Tom, Dick, and Harry before you actually get to a good link builder. You can shave years of time and money by just building those relationships with the right people.
Yeah, I mean, took the words out of my mouth. Like, there's nothing really for me to add there. But relationship building is something that, I find is very, very valuable for myself. Building a professional network that can also be, a network of people that you do become actually good friends with, that you can go for beers and whatnot. But those relationships can be very, very helpful for you to kind of just find, like you mentioned, get the right assets, find the right people to do the right job, so that you don't waste your time and that you don't waste your money. So relationship building is very, very important, especially when it comes to finding people who can get links to wherever you need them to be. But let's move on to quite more interesting types of link building, and the more kind of outside the box tactics. So, for example, if you're volunteering for charities, if you're using stuff like Linkbait, or even the crazy stories that you've told me, Craig, about how people have built links for ridiculous terms. So let's kind of chat through some of these kind of methods.
So obviously, when it comes to link building, it can be boring as hell. A tedious job, just doing outreach, and it's a hard slog. You get, one reply in 100 if you do, outreach and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes you do have to think outside the box, whether that's cheating a little bit, playing in someone's naivety, lying to them, or maybe making them think something, is something it's not, or whatever it may be, are all tactics that people use. Now, guys do outreach using pretty females personas, and a whole load of minor Mickey Mouse kind of tactics to do things. Now they're just you thinking outside the box and doing things like that. But things like volunteering for local charities, or putting out some crazy newsworthy story where you're maybe going to get a newspaper link, or some of the other stuff that I've said in the past where you might use a kind of scare tactic when someone's said that the image, the copyright's unknown. You might say that it's your image, and you might send them a little threat or whatever. And there's a whole bunch of different stories out there that you can tell, and it really comes down to the person's moral compass. But what I would say to anyone, of course, don't sit there and lie or do something that's going to get you jail time. But there's sometimes nothing really wrong with bending the truth, a little bit, just to get what you need, in terms of being able to make a living. I wouldn't sit there and say break the law and do anything that's going to get you into serious bother. But I think you do have to think outside the box if you want to gain that competitive edge, because again, people are becoming wiser. More and more people are doing SEO. More and more people are doing the exact same stuff, buying the exact same guest posts, using the exact same tiered link building structure. And you're going to have to up your game one way or another and do something that people are not. And if you cannot get those newspaper links by hook or by crook, you're going to be sat there fighting it out with everyone else. And I'm sure, with anyone out there, we want to be the winner. We all have a winning mentality where we want to be the top dog in our niche. And if you need to bend a few rules to make sure that you win that niche, then I don't see there being anything wrong with that. As I say, I'm not here to condone the illegal stuff, but I don't mind lying to people and bending the rules a little bit. And some people see that as black hat, immoral, unethical, whatever, but it's fun. And as I say, I've got to do what works. I'm here, got a family to feed, and if I need to train someone naive and vulnerable, that doesn't understand the SEO industry as much as I do, and I maybe need to scare them a little bit, or use a scare tactic or a lie, or pretend I'm a woman or whatever, then it is what it is. I'm quite happy to go to those lengths to make sure that I get something that other people don't have. And I think it's again, I don't want to use an SEO example, but in life, sport, for example, football or whatever, if Cristiano Ronaldo's running down the wing, does another manager say, just, smash him, kick him into the stand, give him one, stick one right in his chin, from the get-go, to kind of derail or maybe scare Ronaldo from running at you or whatever? These are all things that go on in all other walks of life. And again, there's this big hang-up of, you're a bad man if you do it in the SEO world. These things happen all over the world in all different niches and sport and all that kind of stuff. And even boxing and stuff. You're telling me another boxer's never, used potentially immoral, like punching below the belt just to give the other guy one. You take the point knockoff from it, but he's going to stick one right on him just to knock the wind out his sails and maybe get that psychological edge or whatever it's going to be. So I think for hundreds of years, people have been using tactics like that, whether it's scaring Ronaldo by getting some bruiser to stick one right in his chin without the referee looking at the start of a game to try and put him off his stride, or whatever, because at the end of the day, you have to try and stop these people from beating you. And it's just in my nature to make sure that I do whatever it takes to win. And as I say, without killing anyone, that's the name of the game. And as I say, it happens in every other industry across the world. Even going to the cash and carry, people are telling lies about prices and stock levels and everything to make you buy more or whatever. They'll say, well, we might never get these in ever again. Got a special deal here, and they're selling you the whole factory full of stuff. And before you know it, the guys get, tens of thousands of supplies of that stuff, and it really wasn't the last in its, the last ever, version of that particular bit of stock or whatever. So sales tactics are no different from SEO tactics. It's just the way it goes, and that's the way I see it anyway. What about yourself? Do you would you use them?
I mean, I think generally speaking, like having a winner's mentality is really important. I think if you do want to get results, so that means doing what works. Obviously, not being a terrible person, because like I don't want to be a terrible person, but I still want to succeed, and I still want to kind of utilize what is best working for me. But like personally, like I've had like really good experiences with kind of like earning links, whether if I'm writing good pieces of content for someone else to get a link, or appearing on podcasts and things like that. It's just kind of ways that I managed to do that and actually get some really good results, even without really spending any money, to be quite honest. So obviously there's plenty of things that work, and I suppose just experiment, try things out, see what works for you, and just keep at it. You've got to try and maintain that mentality that's saying that, well, I want to beat every single other person, and I want to get to this ranking, and these tactics work for me, and I'm going to keep on using them, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So use what works for you. Obviously try different things out, because you might be surprised and thinking originally, well, oh no, I didn't think that would be a good idea, and then you do it and you get really good results, and like, man, should have done that 2-3 years ago. But sometimes it's just like that. But obviously make the most of what you know, and that's pretty much it. I mean, this episode is probably the longest one so far. But I mean, there were some really, really interesting insights that we've shared there about link building. So if you did like this episode, make sure to leave a like rating and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next week on the next episode of SEO Tells.